Hey, you guys, it's Crystal. It's Wednesday, or Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? No, it's definitely not Wednesday. It's Tuesday night. I'm tired. It's Tuesday night at 5:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to do our live cooking class. We are making a easy, quick, I like those 2 words, one pot, like the 3 words, meal tonight. It is called stuffed pepper quinoa casserole. And so we're going to get going on it here. I'm going to be using a Dutch oven, my cast iron Dutch oven with a lid, but you could use any pot that you want that has a lid to make this meal. This comes with a disclaimer. I know everyone doesn't like quinoa. I used to hate quinoa, and just recently we picked it back up. And so I made this meal for my family about a week ago. Everyone absolutely loved it. Cleaned the whole pot, even though it's a double batch recipe, and I was shocked. So that's great news. So I'm going to go ahead and double the recipe tonight. So if you're cooking for only a few people, you might want to have all these ingredients, okay? So let's get started. I'm glad you guys are with me tonight. Hopefully you guys saw the Azure haul video that's out already. Oh, and there was a request to see the baby's face, so I will do my best. She's asleep right now. I will do my best. Oh, I don't know if I can do it. Ooh, she might just wake up in the process. All right, that's all I got, guys. It's the best you're gonna get. She's asleep. Okay, so I have my large cast iron, Dutch oven. Hello, I am so tired, guys. You just have to laugh along with me. 2 pounds of ground beef is in here, and I have it over medium heat. I just turned it on right before I went live. I'm gonna go ahead and move the pan lid out of the way. We don't need it right now. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter to the pan. There we go. And the next ingredient that's called for is an onion. So I got my huge Azure Standard onion. You want about 2 cups of onion, the doubled version of this recipe. And that's about the size of this gigantic onion. So I'm just going to get this chopping. I was going to use my chopper, but I've noticed that when I go to cook and I have her in this sling type wrap, whenever I use this arm, her head bounces. Okay, so I was like, it's probably not gonna be a good idea to use a dicer that I pound, because she's gonna get her head kind of bounced here and there and everywhere. So I'm gonna dice up this oven. And I was gonna say that she's doing much better. I've had some emails, people asking how she's doing. She's doing a lot better. Tomorrow we go back once again to the craniosacral therapist. And I can just kind of tell as of this morning that her adjustment was starting to slip. But that's way better of an outcome than last week, because last week the adjustment only held for 3 days. So I'm really happy that it's held for longer. I'm just peeling this onion here. You guys aren't missing anything. Because it is a 2-hour drive to go to this therapist, because nobody locally does it. And so I would love for that story, that portion of our lives, to be over as quickly as possible. I don't take all of the kids up when I go, so that is one good thing, is I do have friends that can watch my kids for me. But it still is a long drive. But she's doing a lot better. I thought maybe her bone was slipping yesterday, but she's still drinking well, so that's good. So just in case you guys are curious about what bone is in her head that's slipping, so that you guys know, in case you know somebody who's having a baby that's having breastfeeding difficulties that doesn't have tongue tie, it's called the sphenoid bone. S-P-H-Y, I think, N-O-I-D. Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty close. And when you research into that, like, we all have that bone, obviously. It's actually a really important bone. I don't know the names of our bones, you know, so I didn't really know anything about it. So I took some time this last week to research into what we were exactly dealing with. And it turns out the sphenoid bone used to be considered the very top vertebrae of the spine for chiropractors, but it is no longer taught that way. But this sphenoid bone is at the very, very top of your spine, and it actually cradles the brain. So kind of important. If you run your tongue over the top of your mouth, this is the next ingredient, which is diced peppers. Sorry, I should be quiet and give you guys the ingredients. This is diced peppers. You could do 2 red peppers or 2 green peppers. I'm going to do green and orange peppers. Doesn't really matter. These are already pre-diced and I froze them, which makes it super fast just to add. So I'm just going to estimate how much would be 2 peppers of each color worth. But anyways, the sphenoid bone, it has holes in it, so the base of your brain, and basically you, like all of your spinal cord and all of your nerves run through the holes inside that bone. And so if that bone is out, it can cause anything from migraines, which are not very much fun, to vision problems, numbness, just all sorts of things. And so that's what's going on with this little girl. And so it's good to finally research and know what bone we're dealing with, because, well, half of the battle is knowing what you're dealing with, right? So that is and also one more important thing about the sphenoid bone is that there's actually like a little cup looking cradle inside the sphenoid bone, and your pituitary gland sits in that, and the sphenoid bone is actually meant to rock. And so as it rocks, it stimulates your pituitary gland, which is the master of all of your glands, just in case you're new to that. So very important, because your master gland communicates with things like fertility and your thyroid, all sorts of things. So it's really, really important. And when it's out, it's really, really bad. So in any event, I'm just glad that I have a craniosacral therapist within 2 hours of me that can treat Naomi and get us back on the right foot. So thank you so much, you guys, for jumping on. I see you guys all jumping on. So you guys haven't missed much. I'll repeat the ingredients in case you're just jumping on, because I know it's annoying if you're a few minutes late and you don't know what's into the pot. So we have a large pot that has a lid. Doesn't have to be cast iron like I have here. It can be just a normal pot. We have 2 pounds of ground beef in here, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 cups of yellow onions. Hey, Jackie. And then we have the equivalent of 2 green onions and 2 red onions, but I don't have, or not onions, sorry, 2 green peppers and 2 red peppers. But I don't have red peppers, so I did yellow or orange. I guess they're orange technically. There's some yellow ones in there too. So it doesn't really matter, whatever color of pepper you want, okay? So you need 2 peppers of each color worth of peppers that are diced. That's all that's in here. That's all you've missed, okay? So that's going to cook. The next ingredient is 6 garlic cloves. So I'm going to start chopping these. And this actually comes together super, super quick. It is a, like I said, easy, quick, 1-pot meal done in 30 minutes. So this is another one that's awesome for people who have busy schedules or moms that work outside the home. This is a quick one. So I'm just dicing. You could go smaller if you want with your garlic cloves. We love to eat garlic, so we don't mind large chunks of garlic. 6 cloves. And again, I'm going to go over how you peel a garlic clove, because I was one of the people in this world that actually didn't even know this was a garlic clove. I used to buy my stuff in the little pre-chopped containers. So this is all usually on a bulb. Kind of looks like a flower bulb, and you just break the cloves apart. And then we got to peel this. So I used to peel these with my fingertips, and then I realized the quick way to do it is to chop off the little hard part right there. So you have a flat edge there. And then I'm just going to take my knife on its side. I'm going to lay it on the garlic clove, and I'm just going to, I affectionately call it a bop. I'm going to use use my little base of my palm there to whack it, and then the little skin just comes right off. It's super easy. It's important not to buy the pre-chopped stuff because it's got preservatives in it so that it keeps. Fresh garlic is so much more healthy for you. And it's got allicin in it, which is like an antiviral. So it's an amazing thing to put into your food, nice and fresh. I'm going to finish chopping the 6 garlic cloves. And then the other thing you should know is I have pre-soaked my quinoa. So quinoa is a seed. So we want to make sure we're properly preparing it, not only because it unlocks all the nutrients for your family, but this meal is going to fill your family up faster, unless you have a house full of pigs like I do, and then they ate the whole thing last time. But that was because they were all pigging out and they really enjoyed it. But it should fill your family up faster than what it would had you not soaked it. So the process of soaking was I measured out, because I don't make quinoa that often, so I measured out 2 cups of dry quinoa. And this is white quinoa from Azure Standard that I'm talking about. And I just put it inside a glass jar, submerged it in filtered water, and added a couple of tablespoons of raw apple cider vinegar. And then that sat for 12 hours. That's all you do. And then you just rinse it. And now it's completely drained. So 2 cups of dry makes about 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a cup of already soaked quinoa. And if you're going to be taking your existing quinoa recipes and altering them to be soaked, just know that you're going to want to reduce the amount of cooking liquid that the recipe calls for, because the quinoa has already soaked up the liquid. I'm just going to mash this around here. Hopefully some of you guys got in on that really good beef deal from Primal Plains that I talked about. That was before baby, I think. Maybe it was after. No, it had to have been before baby. That was a really good deal on some grass-fed, high-quality ground beef. And even if you didn't, they have free shipping to your door. So that's primalplains.com. And they have all sorts of beef that you can have shipped right to your door. The shipping is included in the price. It's on their website. So you'll have to go check it out. They do things the right way. There's no antibiotics, no pokes, no anything. It's just all grass, never any grain fed to them. So they're just out on the prairie grass. And their website has more information about how they raise, about their sweet little family and how they raise their beef. So just go check that out. Shipping anywhere in the United States. All right, so that's well on its way to cooking over medium heat. Okay, so the next ingredient that I'm not going to add quite yet until the ground beef is cooked is fire roasted tomatoes. Okay, these are my home ones, homemade and home canned, so they look a little funky. All right, it's not mold. That's actually just a black on the skin of the fire roasted. So what I did was I had so many tomatoes in 2022 that I put them inside the oven on a baking sheet that has like a rim under the broiler, and I toasted them. And then I simply just filled hot jars with the hot tomatoes and then processed them as normal and canned them up and put them on the shelf, and they're really good. Kylie, I saw you commented. Just 1 second. Okay, Kylie says, hi, Crystal, hope all is well. Question, sorry, off topic, but I started pressure canning beans. Oh, yay. Yay, I've been coming and fermenting. How long do you ferment the beans before canning? And yes, we got the ground beef you recommended, a real blessing in the price. Thank you for sending us their way. We stocked 60 pounds. I did 60 pounds as well, Kylie. It's so crazy. Oh, it's supposed to say canning and fermenting. So fermenting them, it's the same process. I do the soaking for overnight, and then you are supposed to rinse them. Sometimes I don't. Replenish everything and let them sit for 3 days. And then I do have a video up here on exactly how to can them, but the short version of it is you rinse them like normal, and then you put them in a large stock pot and you submerge them in water, like fresh filtered water, and you simmer them for 30 minutes. You got to bring it up to a simmer and then start your timer. And then once they're done simmering for 30 minutes, you fill your jars just up to the shoulder, okay? And then I usually put like a little bit more filtered water on top, or a little bit more of the liquid from the pot. And then your lids go on and you just pressure can as normal. Or you can water bath them. I've had really good results water bath canning them. That's a 3-hour water bath at a boil for 3 hours. But the texture and everything is kind of worth it. Canned beans are okay too, pressure canned, but I made up 20 jars of the water bath canned beans this fall, and I just really enjoyed putting them in soups. Their texture is just a lot softer and different than the pressure canned ones. Dakota the farm dog is outside the window barking because he desperately wants to be loose because the snow is melting and the children are outside playing, and it's so much fun, but he's not loose. And he really wants to be. Okay, I'm going to add the seasonings to this. So the seasonings for this is just basil and oregano. Super easy. All right, Kylie, and it's supposed to be, okay. Jesse, hi from the UK. Hey, Jesse. I've actually never had someone comment that they live in the UK. That's super cool. Kylie says, after canning and the jar is cool, is it normal for the liquid to thicken to a congealed state? Yes, if you pressure can. Absolutely. That's actually one of the reasons why I started water bathing mine. And I actually don't have any to show you, but I think in one of my past cooking classes, I can't tell you which one, I had a comparison, and the ones that you pressure can are totally like gelled up, and the ones that are water bath, the liquid is still clear, like the store-bought ones. And I agree, the taste of long ferment is well worth it. Thank you for teaching me about that. Hey, you're welcome, Kylie. I only learned about the long ferment on the white beans because we did the GAPS diet, and on the way out of the GAPS diet, when you're starting to introduce different foods, one of those things is fermented white beans when you're on what's called the full GAPS, which is the last stage of the GAPS diet. And so I wanted desperately to have something more than just meat and vegetables. I know it sounds funny, but after you've been doing something for a year and a half, you just, you want something other than meat and vegetables. And so I desperately wanted to try the beans. And so my friend introduced me to fermenting them. And so they're safe to have on the GAPS diet. So if you're getting ready to start the GAPS diet, make sure you stock up on navy beans. Okay, this is pretty much cooked. We're going to add our seasonings really quick. So oregano, we need 2 teaspoons. I'm just going to eyeball it because it really doesn't matter. It's not spicy. 2 teaspoons, and then we need 2 teaspoons of basil. This is my homegrown basil from last year. So I'm going to do my best not to get any of the stems in there. Reach from the bottom. 2 teaspoons. My basil did really good this last year. All right. Then we need 1 teaspoon of healthy salt. So you want colored salt, just in case you're new to that term of colored salt, healthy salt. The reason why we don't want white salt is because they've basically taken all of the minerals, which is your color of your salt, out and sold you what's left, which is the white stuff. So we want, you know, Celtic sea salt that's kind of like an off-white to gray color, and or like real salt, which is like a pink color, or pink Himalayan salt, which is what I have in here. You want colored salt because that means that that salt still has all the minerals in it. It's the original product, so that your body can handle salt without having weird swelling and other issues. So healthy salt, we need 1 teaspoon. All right. Give it a stir, and then all the rest of the ingredients are going to go in here really quick, and then it's just going to simmer for about 15 minutes till it's done. Okay, so next ingredient, let me catch the chat here. I'm so glad you guys are chatting. This is so much fun. Do you have much experience with Tattler canning lids? Oh my gosh, yes, I do. I just got some because they are having a sale. That's awesome. So we'll talk about that in just a second. So this is 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I'm just going to dump the rest of the ingredients, Kylie, and then I'll answer your question. 1 quart of fire roasted tomatoes. And like I already told you guys how I made these. It's just tomatoes under a broiler. Some people peel the black skin off, but I'm one of those people that lights her marshmallows on fire and eats them when they're black, so I don't mind the flavor at all. Let's see, 2 cups of broth. This is homemade broth that I canned, and there's a Tattler lid for you. So I'm going to dump about 2 cups of this in, which is about half. I'm going to spill it on my burner, apparently, because that's funner that way. Okay, I'm going to give it a stir. And then we're going to add the quinoa in here. And then we're going to watch this because, and this was, like I said, 2 cups of quinoa that was soaked, and now it's closer to like 2 3/4 cups. We're going to watch the liquid in here though, because the quinoa, depending on what kind of quinoa you use, how old your quinoa is, will depend on how much liquid it actually soaks up. Which is not something I understood back in the days when I hated quinoa, because I didn't understand how it cooked on up. You found the most beautiful rock ever in the whole world? Oh, wow. That's epic, guys. If you ever found a beautiful rock, it's not the most beautiful one. William just found the most beautiful one. I'm so excited for you, William. That's awesome. Is it covered in mud by chance?
Oh, it's just what I said.
You guys are washing them. Okay. Hey, guys. Hey, excuse me. So when you guys go to like wash those, can you please like wash out the sink when you're done? So your dad doesn't think I let you guys have a mud fight in the bathroom sink? All right. So this is added. Everything is added now. We are done adding. This is just going to simmer for 15 minutes. But like I said, you need to watch the liquid in here because if it dries out, your quinoa is going to be crunchy. Too much liquid, it's going to be soggy. And let me go get my tattler lid stuff. We'll talk about tattler lids while it's cooking. So Kylie, I probably have close to like, this is just a little bit, I could probably have close to about 400 tattler lids, maybe more. I bought my tattler lids back post-COVID when they were like, oh, there's a shortage coming of tin and you people aren't going to be able to grow your own food and preserve it. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just buy some tattler lids, right? So I keep mine like this. I also have some totes back in my canning storage. So I keep them in totes. I've seen cute little things on Pinterest about, you know, saving your paper towel, you know, the cardboard thing to store these on. And guys, I really don't think it makes that much of a difference. I mean, unless you're going to like, you know, just carefully put each one on. I just stick them in a bag with my lids that are already used. So the science behind it is, I think it's what, reusablecanninglids.com, I believe. But these, you basically get a plastic lid, okay, that's reusable. And this is BPA free. Not sure about BPS, but BPA free. And then you have a reusable gasket. This is rubber, okay? And basically these are good. They used to say for like 5 years. Now they're saying close to 15 uses. So what you're supposed to do, that I've never done, is every time you use it and you take it off, you're supposed to use a permanent marker to put a dot on the side of the gasket that you used so that next time you use the other side. Okay? I've never done that. I just, you know, simmer mine till they get nice and hot and soft, and you just assemble them and put them on your jars. And I actually have a really old video here on the channel, Kylie, about exactly how to use tattler lids, because it is a little bit different when it comes to, you don't crank the ring down. You'd have a candy ring on here. You don't crank that all the way down when you load stuff up. So in that video, I talk about exactly how to get it, that I found my little trick to get it so that it's tight enough where it stays on, but loose enough so that the jar can still vent. Because if you crank down this all the way, your jar could either A, explode, or B, the pressure will build up so much that it won't seal. So anyway, that is that. And I use these, I've done both regular canning size and the wide mouth, and love them. This last year, I didn't use any. And that was simply because tattler lids, they get such a strong seal on the top of your canning jars that it's hard to get them open, for like little kids to get them open, and you can't use a jar opener. Let's see if I can have one here, a metal one. It might be dirty. Oh no, here it is. You can't use one of these to pry it off because the lid doesn't give, if that makes sense. And so you're like, there's no way you can pry it off. So, and I was having a baby and I knew that. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to have a lot of my meals come out of that pantry, then I need to make sure that even my kids can open the jars. And so I did the Superb canning lids, and I bought them from Azure Standard. I also had a good friend, Julie, from South Dakota here. Her husband goes over and goes to an Amish store near them. They sent me some lids. Thank you so much, Julie. I'm going to be emailing you about getting some more for next year, I think. But they are definitely a good product. The reusable canning lids, tattler lids, are a really good product to use because you never have to worry about running out of lids, which is awesome. But like I said, they really get a good seal. And you have to get the feel of the ring going onto the jar, what's right about the right spot, so that you get a good seal. And I had the least amount of failed seals with tattler lids. All right, let's see. Rhonda. Hey, Rhonda. It's been so long. Hey, Sherry, you caught one. That is so awesome. So we're just simmering this because this is already done. I better double check my ingredients because I'm tired and I've been messing up everything tonight. So we had 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 cups of onions, 6 garlic cloves, 2 pounds of ground beef, 2 red peppers, 2 green peppers, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 1 quart of fire roasted tomatoes, and then the quinoa that was soaked, broth. And we're just watching this to see if we need to add any more. Your choice. You could use broth or water just to keep it moist. I feel like when you're cooking quinoa, it seems like they're not cooking at all and not absorbing anything at all. And then all of a sudden, it soaks all the liquid up and you just don't want to burn it. And the last ingredient is cheese, which I didn't get out. So I'll go get that and we'll grind that while we talk. I just love that you guys are all on and everybody's wanting to talk and comment tonight. That's so great. I'll be right back, okay? Some cheese. I made a super yummy, I've been just like reaching for shortcut meals lately because my life is still very much crazy with baby and traveling once a week to her therapy and all of that. So, but I made a really, really yummy, what was it? Chicken marsala, Sourdough noodles. It was so good. I made that this last week. I was reminded of it because I just opened the fridge and it's sitting there. Hey, Jessie. Haha, yes, I'm on your time up with babies. Yeah. Yep, I don't know. And it's been 5 years since I've had a baby, so I feel like it's worse now. Rhonda says, it has been so long. I'm thankful I was able to see you tonight. I'm so thankful you're here. I don't know. It just feels like I'm just too old to be doing this, which is so funny, but I can do it. It's just with the stuff that we have going on, I'm basically pumping around the clock to make sure she gets enough milk and keeps gaining weight. And I'm starting to like be able to transition away. I'm still pumping, but I'm only giving her like an ounce, which is good because that means she's eating the rest of her meal and she's full. But it's just you're up. For any of you ladies that ever pumped, you guys know what I mean. You get up. Well, in her case, I have to weigh her before I feed her. And then I have to, then she nurses, I pump. Then you figure out how many more ounces she needs. You weigh her before you give her bottle to make sure that you know how much she ate. And then you give her bottle, and then you're up and you have to go wash all the pumping supplies so it's all ready to go in another 3 hours. And change a diaper and, you know, all that stuff. So it's like I'm up for an hour every couple of hours doing all of that. So it's one thing if you wake up to nurse, and it's another thing you got to do all that on top of it. So it's just been crazy, and I've just been tired. But we're doing better. She's doing better. Okay, so Kylie says, I'll go back and look at your canning videos. Yeah, I don't have a ton, but they're kind of like spread here and there. I should make a playlist for you. That would be kind, wouldn't it? I'm assuming you have a chicken bone broth one. Yes, I do. I think it's just under chicken broth. But it's the same thing for if you're going to have bone broth. I have how to make chicken or bone broth. It's like one of my 3rd or 4th videos. You have to scroll all the way down. Or press sort by oldest video. And it reverses all of my videos. And then probably last year sometime I have one on canning it. But I tell you what, if I have some time, it might be in the middle of the night when I'm up already, I'll make you that playlist about canning and it'll all be in one spot if I already haven't. I might already have a playlist on canning. I'm not really sure. I make those playlists every now and then and, well, I forget what I have in there. I also forget that I have 300 and whatever videos, and so people will say, do you have a video on this? And I'll say, yep. Where? I don't know. Good luck. It's somewhere out there. This smells so good. So the cheese, we're looking for about 2 cups. We're just going to cover the top, or you could shred it and put it on top of each person's bowl. Whatever you'd like. This is the, I think it's Romano brand. This is not raw. It's just organic. Because we're going to be cooking it, so there's no point in you paying extra for raw. But this is from Azure Standard. I usually buy one of their 10-pound boxes of cheese because it keeps really well. They're all sealed in their packages. Here's a picture of the label in case you're a picture person. And that package keeps it from molding. So I've had some for several months sitting in the fridge just waiting. Doesn't mold unless you open it and it's exposed to the air and it's not vacuum sealed anymore, then you would deal with a little bit of mold. But if it's just waiting and it's still in its original package, you've got a few months. In fact, I think they put expiration dates on these. Maybe not. 1 month when I bought, there was like a little sticker that said that it was good if used by, etc., etc. But that package doesn't particularly have one. And I also make sure, because I write on the bottom of each 5-pound block. This one was for cooking, and we have some for snack. I put snack on it because that snack stuff is raw. And so we want to make sure that when people are going into the fridge to get cheese, that they pick the right one. I'm going to give this a stir again. The lid is for the very, very end. We put the lid on, we turn the heat off, and we put the lid on. And then that lid being on there, it still keeps it warm and still keeps it cooking, but without heat from below. And the quinoa gets nice and soft. There. Okay. And as always, if you think it needs more salt, add salt. If you want to add butter, add butter. This is a really good recipe to add lots of butter to. All right. But yeah, the Tatler lids, because you can use them so much, they are much more affordable than regular canning lids. Because you're going to be using them, well, it depends on what you go off of. When I bought those back in 2020, they said 5 years. But now they're saying that the same product could be good for between 10 and 15, I think is what was the last thing on their website. But I think it's like with any product, they can't guarantee it's going to last until they've had, seals last for that long. So they're not going to guarantee it lasts 10 years until they've had a jar that sat on the shelf for 10 years. Or that they've used the seal multiple times for 10 years. So they just have to wait till that happens. So that's why I think they don't guarantee it. There was some sort of controversy about whether or not for a while there, and I don't remember what year it was. I know the needy homesteader here on YouTube had a video specifically about these style of lids. It wasn't the Tatler company though, I don't think. And it was the fact that they sold them as reusable canning lids, and the company only meant this plastic part, not the rubber gasket. But I'm pretty sure that was the other company that makes like a look-alike to the Tatler lid. It wasn't the Tatler lids themselves. But that was kind of sneaky, whatever company did that. And it was during the whole craze with COVID and people were trying to find alternatives for canning. All right, so most of this liquid is already absorbed. We're coming up, if not already past 15 minutes. So I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm going to scrape the bottom one more time because this is a cast iron pot and a glass cooktop. And so it's going to retain some heat a little. I'm just going to make sure that by skimming the bottom with my spoon that we're not going to have anything burn down to the bottom. And then I'm going to put a lid on. I think I'm just going to scoot it over to this other burner. Just to make sure we don't burn it. There. So it's still boiling. I can hear it boiling. It's going to sit over there. And I'll probably let it set for about 10 minutes and then it'll be ready to put the cheese on top. Or like I said, you could save the cheese and put the cheese on each bowl. People can choose how much cheese they want. Sometimes I like doing it that way because like the kids will dish up and they'll take all the cheese and then it's like the last kid in line doesn't get any cheese. And then they're going to grow up and say, I was always last in line to get my food and I never got any cheese on top of my casseroles. And I don't want that to happen. So I soaked extra quinoa. So this, I'm going to finish rinsing. There's still a little bit of liquid in the bottom. Finish rinsing this, and this can go in a freezer bag into the freezer, just like fermented beans and fermented rice. This will be ready to go. I did not ferment this. I just soaked it. I've had a little bit of iffy outcomes fermenting, what was it? Split peas. And what was the other thing? I think the lentils still turned out. It's just the split peas that wasn't so good. And I'm not exactly sure what went wrong with it. I just soaked and fermented like you would a bean. and I went to go cook them, and I could not get them to get soft. I tried pressure canning them. I don't know what I did wrong. But anyway, I would not advise doing the split peas through the soaking and fermenting process unless you're not going to be counting on that, because it's probably not going to turn out. But over here on the counter, I have a whole bunch of, you guys can see them right there. Got 3 gallons of Great Northern beans that are fermenting. I just want to show this jar because there's been some questions on the channel from people who are like, you're not fermenting, you're just doing a long soak. So I want to show you guys, I haven't done anything to this jar to make bubbles. But there's indeed bubbles there, and I don't know if I can hold this and knock it at the same time, but if you were to knock a ferment, I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but there's a bunch of bubbles coming up from between those beans. And if you ever do it, you will have proof that they are fermented because the taste starts to change. So these are ready because that liquid on top has gotten all cloudy. So those particular beans are ready. With kidney beans, the water on top doesn't necessarily get cloudy, but with the Great Northern beans, it sure does. So depends on which bean you're soaking, but we do have that complete list, playlist up here on the channel. You guys can go check that out. That's all the fermenting stuff. Okay. Let's see. Ty says, not too old at all. Having a baby on you suits you. Thank you. Callie says, please don't worry about it. I'll look through. Just snuggle the baby. Also, can lentils be canned? I know that they are quick to cook, but whatever. I want to have some. Yes. So you know what I did with lentils? I don't know if I have a size. I took a pint size canning jar. So I soaked them, fermented them, and then simmered them on the stove, same process as beans, and then filled my jars to the shoulder of the jar, and then canned them. And it's the same time as beans for pressure canning and for water bath. And then because I put it in a pint, you can take that and you can stretch your ground beef with it because it looks like ground beef after it's been cooked. And so I pop that open, and that 2 cups was the perfect amount for 2 pounds of ground beef to get mixed with. And then add all your spices, and if you're going to put liver in your meatloaf or whatever you're making. So keep that in mind that if you do a smaller jar, because I did huge quarts. And what ended up happening was we would use the first half and the second half rotted it into the fridge. So if you have pint-sized jars, I would recommend doing the lentils in the pints because then you can mix it with your meat and not have extra hanging out to your fridge. Okay. Sharon says, another great video. Is the sister company, I guess that company is like bloodline family to the Taylor family, or so I heard. I made your sticky buns last week and they turned out great. Oh, yummy. I cannot wait until I'm like, I want to make cinnamon rolls, or I want to make caramel rolls, or whatever again. Right now, when I was on bed rest, Nevaeh took over making bread. And so she has learned how to make sourdough bread really good, to a point where our neighbor and my co-chapter leader, Mary, is actually going to hire her to make her bread. So she's super excited about that because she's just 11 and she knows how to make sourdough bread that's nicer than mine, actually. And so I just told her, you know what, if you can make it better than me and it's like nice and soft and like squishy, then you just do it. So she's been making loaves. I made a loaf with Aubriana last weekend. No, it wasn't last weekend. It was Monday, I think. But see, it just didn't turn out. It's just not very tall. Nevaeh can get him really tall, and I don't know how she does it, but she's got this special touch. So I'm just gonna let her have that. And when I'm old, she can just bring me sourdough. All right. Kai says, Sharon, have you made the soaked cornbread? Oh yes. The soaked cornbread inside my cookbook is one of our favorites. In fact, next month, beans and cornbread is going on the menu because that's one of Aubriana's favorite meals. And so I said, well, we'll make it next month. So yes, the soaked cornbread is amazing. I've taken that to potlucks and people are like, I've never had cornbread so moist. What did you do? And it's such a great gateway to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to send you my recipe. You have to soak it first. That's what makes it so soft and full of moisture. Because usually when you eat cornbread, it's like you eat it and it's like, oof, I need some water. But the soaked cornbread totally isn't that way at all. And if you can get your hands on some pork cracklings, like if you rendered your own lard and you have the cracklings left over, all I do is I dry those cracklings, let them cool, put them in a freezer bag, put them into your freezer, and on top of that cornbread, I put cracklings and then I bake it. That's really good. It just adds that like extra, like kind of crunchy, on the top, but also the flavor of the pork cracklings, which is super good. But yes, that's one of our favorite recipe. Well, at least Bree's favorite recipe. There's also I think I put that one into my cookbook. There's a chicken, what is it? Chicken cornbread casserole. That one's really good as well if you guys haven't tried it. Pretty sure I put that one in here. I can't even remember anymore. Yep, chicken cornbread casserole, page 110. And that is basically like a chicken pot pie with the soaked cornbread on the top of it. So that's page 110. Check that one out. That's another one of our favorites. It's soft and moist and delicious. I'm going to check on this meal here with you guys real quick. See how it goes. I don't think William's going to be coming in for milk because they are outside. The snow is melting and it's so warm. It's going to be almost 60 here tomorrow, which is unheard of. I can't believe it. But he is hunting down rocks. So I don't for milk. Maybe next week. He gets into his rock hunting and there's no getting him in. All right. Just going to dump the liquid off of the lid there. All right. There it is. See, that was the perfect amount. I had to add a little bit of water last time, so I'm not sure. Maybe the quinoa didn't absorb as much water last time or what, was the same quinoa. So but we just had the 2 cups of broth and that's it. And this is soft and ready to go. And I have the cheese right below the camera here and that'll go on top of everybody's bowl. Or if it's just you and somebody else and you're not going to fight over who's going to skim the cheese off, you can put it on top right now and then put your lid back on. And the cheese will melt. So there. What I think is really, really interesting, Kylie, is like I'm getting to a point now in my pantry, which is like right behind us here, that because we lived out of this pantry for the last, how many months has it been? We started my dump and go meals in November. So it's been 4 months that we lived out of there. So we just, whatever I canned is what I made with meals. And I have like 9 jars maybe left of chicken broth. I guess it's 8 now. So I need to be getting some whole chickens into a roaster. I also have a huge box. Thank you, Samantha, if you're watching. Grass-fed, bones from a grass-fed beef of hers that she was willing to share. And so I need to make a big batch of bone broth with those bones and then get to canning. I'm hoping to be able to, I actually started water bath canning broth. Also turns out amazing. The fat on the top doesn't get a solid layer. It just stays liquid, which is super cool. That's also a 3-hour water bath if you want to try that. I loved it. The color was also different. It looks, this one is a canned one. It stayed like a lighter color. It stayed the same color that it came out of your pot when you made the broth instead of changing color. So anyway, but I'm almost out of broth, so I need to somehow get back in the rhythm of things and get my roaster back out. I use a big, huge, I think it's 22 or 23 quart deep roaster to make all of my broth now. So I can do it in a huge batch. And then I take the chicken off and put it into the quart-sized freezer bags. And I just do like 1 pound at a time. And I smush all of the air out and then I store them like stacked like books inside the freezer. And that way I have chicken that's ready to go. Which is awesome. And then you take the broth out, you strain it out, and you put it into jars. Something to make you guys laugh. So I had some broth that I had made right before the baby was born, and I had just strained it. Well, okay, my version of straining because I was in a rush. So there was like actually no, this is like confessions of a mother. There was no strainer involved. It was just me taking the ladle and like getting the liquid out. But apparently in my rush, I like missed some chicken toenails and chicken just stuff that shouldn't be in there. Like little organs that like somebody forgot to clean out the cavity, so it might have been like a kidney or something. I don't know. Anyway, and so we have this joke going in our house that like we're all eating, and if somebody finds something, they're like, chicken toenail. And it goes to the next kid, and the next kid will say, oh, I can't wait to see what I have in my bowl. So anyway, we just laugh about it because it's like, whatever, you know, we raise our own chicken here, so I know what's in the chicken, and I know that we properly cleaned those feet and we properly peeled the feet, and so it's not a big deal if there's a nail in there, but of course you don't want to eat it. So anyway, we laugh when we have broth that hasn't been canned, and that I quickly filter it with no filter. So anyway, this stuff that I'm going to have to make up, I'm going to make up a ton of chicken, so I'll be canning all of it. And what I did last year was I went to Lehman's, however you pronounce it, .com, and they have these big blue water bath pots that hold 10 quarts. It says it only holds 9, but it actually holds 10, you guys. So I bought 2 of those, and I have a huge Camp Chef double burner propane stove that I can, both of them fit on, and I can can 20 jars at a time. And so that's one main reason why I've leaned more towards the Amish way of canning. I've gotten away from the pressure canner, is because I can get 20 done in one whack in 3 hours. And some people would say, well, why would you waste your time canning broth for 3 hours in a water bath can when you could just do it for however long? And that is because, if, like, especially like with meat, okay, meat in my altitude is like an hour and a half, and it's 3 hours inside the water bath canner. And so if I only get 7 jars done in an hour and a half, but that's not counting the time that it takes for the canner to warm up, the time it takes for you to vent the canner, and the time for it to cool off, I mean, you're pretty much at 3 hours and you've only canned 7 jars. And so that's why I started looking into, how are the Amish making all of these? How are they canning thousands of jars? They can't be doing it 7 at a time. And I know some sects of the Amish have these gigantic pressure canners. Yes, they do. But there are a lot of people that are part of the Amish that are still water bath canning things, because the pressure canner didn't come around until after the Great Industrial Revolution. And even we're one of the only countries in the world that has pressure canners, you guys. A lot of people from around the world just water bath. They don't understand why you would want to pressure can something, or even why there are rules, because that's what they have always known. So I'm like leaning more towards the water bath canning side of things just because of those reasons. And I can put up a ton more food for my family that I otherwise wouldn't be able to, because I'd be limited to having enough pressure canners to get 20 jars done in 3 hours, which would be, quick math, 5. And I don't really want to run 5 pressure canners all at once. I don't want to run 2 pressure canners all at once. I'd probably forget one and it would explode, or it'd go too long, cook my food too long. So that's why I'm going to water bath canning a lot of my things. And then the color difference between the two things, I had my first eye opener was with sweet corn. The one that was pressure canned looks kind of brown in tint. It doesn't really look very appetizing. And the one that I did the Amish way, the water bath canning for 3.5 hours, was bright and tasted like canned corn from the store. So in fact, when I tasted it afterwards, it took me back to fishing on the lake with my dad and my brother. And they used to go trout fishing, and the trout that they were trying to catch loves corn. And so instead of doing worms on their hooks, they would do corn. And I didn't really enjoy fishing at all, so I'd sit there and just eat the corn. But it tastes just like the canned corn that you would get from the store. It's that corn flavor. If it tastes like corn, and the crunch is there that you get in a regular canned corn from the store. So if you have any interest in that, you guys can check out another YouTube channel that's on here called Make It Make. And she's got a ton of, she's just basically switched her whole channel over to that version of canning because she is involved with the Amish and helps the Amish. And so she's been making videos about what she's learned. So there's a ton of information over there. Go check her out. Click her subscribe button. Give her some love. Oh, you're here. You want to do some milk? Mm-hmm. Okay. William's here. We'll do milk real quick. And then we're going to eat dinner. Do you have a stool? Mm-hmm. Okay. Careful. Okay, you get up on your stool. And I'm going to go with the milk, okay? All right, William.
Cheese.
Ooh, cheese. Don't eat it all. That's how I run out of cheese, y'all, right there. Oh my gosh. And that's cheddar cheese, by the way. I don't know if I ever said that, but it's cheddar cheese that we're going to top tonight's dinner with. All right, William. Let's have milk together. I'm excited to see the prettiest rock on the planet. Are you going to show it to me, or did you put it back outside?
We have it in her hand, but I don't know where she put it.
Oh. Well, we'll talk to Bethany about that later. All right. I see your hands are still dirty. Did you have fun out in the mud?
I'm finding there's no pile.
Oh, you found it? Did you have a coat on?
Yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have gloves on?
Mm-mm.
No, because it's too warm, huh? So what else are you doing out there?
I was skating on that hill.
Oh, like skiing on it? Like on your
We
feet?
found a chicken. What is got freezer?
Our chicken? Did the dog find a dead chicken somewhere?
We found it right next to the goose where we gonna put the ducks.
And it was frozen?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
And then we found Riley, and then Riley buried it.
I'm sure Riley was going to eat it.
But no.
Riley's the farm dog.
And he didn't eat it, and we saw one, and we sneaked on Riley. And then
You got it away from him? No?
he buried it.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll find it in the spring.
Yeah.
What else happened outside?
Grace and Busty jumped off the end of the goose's house, so
Oh, they were on the roof?
I have the goose's house and jumped all the way down.
Well, it's not that high.
Yeah.
It's like 2 foot off the ground. What else happened?
That all.
That's it. Oh, you found the rock. Where'd you find the prettiest rock in the whole world?
I know. Oh yeah, I'll put it in the water inside the snow.
Okay.
And first I found it in mud.
Do you think that when Dave plowed the driveway, maybe he brought it up in his tractor? No? Oh, okay. Good to know. What color is it?
I don't remember.
But it's the prettiest rock you've ever seen?
But
Are you sure it's not like one of you guys' geodes that made it outside? Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing it. Is your milk good? Okay. So just in case you guys are curious, we're drinking cow's milk again because our goats are getting ready to have babies, so they are all dried up. So it's back to the cow milk. There. You're good to go. All right, I'm going to check comments one more time. And then we're going to boogie. All right. Let's see. Jackie says, I think you said the taste changes when you ferment beans. If so, how, what is the different taste? So when you ferment the beans, how do I describe the taste? If you let them go way too long, I don't like to eat them because they're kind of tangy. It's actually a delicacy down in like Mexico to let them go longer than 3 days. I guess it could be equated to like the beginning of a taste of sauerkraut. I don't know. It just kind of tastes, I guess it is a slight tang. It's just a little bit of a tang, but it's not enough. Like I've served fermented beans and fermented rice to people who don't eat any of that stuff and they can't tell a difference. So it's like if you were to eat them plain, you'd be able to taste it, but if you're putting them in something, you won't be able to taste it. It's supposed to be that, you know, Just barely tangy. Just don't want them to go more than 3 days. Okay. Sharon says a treasure hunt. Yeah, finding a chicken toenail. I laugh every time, you guys. Like, I'm just so... I'm like, oh, is that a kidney? Or what is that? I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. So, which one of you kids had to gut that chicken and didn't get it all out? I don't know, but now we're all enjoying it. Can't wait to see what's in my soup. Anyway, some kids laugh. Some kids are like, oh, I don't want to eat the rest of my soup now. And I'm like, well, the whole pot had that toenail in there. So if that's going to be offensive, then I think you might have to go hungry until the next meal. Because I ain't, my new saying is, I am not a restaurant. So if you don't like what's being served, you have to wait till the next time I make something. Kylie says, you rebel, you, yes. Kylie says, awesome video, Crystal. Enjoyed dinner with family. Thank you for all the help. You're so welcome, Kylie. And Sharon, yeah. He has really, like, since the baby's been born, little William has really started liking to talk and tell stories and tell what's on his mind. And he loves his little sister. Someone had emailed me and asked me how William was doing, or maybe it was you, Sharon. I think you commented last week. William is doing great. He absolutely loves her. And the older girls can't wait for her to grow up so they can put, like, Bethany, you know, she loves glitter and shiny things. And so she can't wait till she gets old enough to, you know, put glitter on her. Although I will say she already put glitter on her. My mom had given the kids some glitter tubes for crafts. And Bethany made a craft. And that craft was taking some glue and going around on a piece of paper and then dumping like 2 or 3 vials of this glitter onto her piece of paper. Well, I knew what had happened, so I was just leaving it there to make sure it was like dry before I moved it. But unfortunately, my husband didn't know what had happened, and so the paper got moved and the glitter fell onto the floor, and then it got tracked throughout the whole house before it got cleaned up. So at little Naomi's last appointment, she had glitter on her, like in her hair and stuff. It's everywhere. We have concrete floors here, in case you guys don't know. And there's just a slight texture to the floor, and so the glitter is stuck, like it's stuck everywhere. And so it was on her, and the therapist was like, "Oh, she has glitter on her." I'm like, "Oh yes, yes. My whole house has glitter on it right now." And it was so funny because my husband was so stressed out when the kids started running through it and went all over the house. And I said, "You know what? It's all good. Eventually, every glitter will be cleaned off. It might take us about 5 years, but eventually, every glitter, it's going to be gone. It's all good. Eventually, it'll stick to someone's foot, someone's pants, apparently Naomi's head. We're going to get it cleaned up. It'll be all right." So anyway, but yes, he loves his little sister. He loves being a big brother. And he never really had an issue having another sibling, which has been really, really great. And he's grown up a lot since having a sibling and has been liking, like I said, just to tell stories and tell everybody everything, and just has really kind of blossomed and opened up in the last 4 months. So that's been really great. So anyway, apparently he's got a rock to show me. So there's that. And that is dinner. So I will see you guys soon. I don't know if I'm going to be doing another cooking class next week. We'll just have to see. It also depends on when I'm going to be heading up for her appointments, Tuesday or Wednesday. The goal is Wednesday because it's Valentine's Day, and my husband was planning on going with me. So we'll see. Hopefully she makes it to next Wednesday and her sphenoid bone stays in place. And like I said, everybody should research the sphenoid bone so that you can see if you have any of the symptoms of that being out, because there's a lot of people walking around with a lot of those symptoms. And I'm not saying it's a cure-all for everything, but it could be a key on your journey to achieving health. So Google that tonight. Learn all about the sphenoid bone. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for joining me live. Thanks for commenting. It's been a blast, you guys. I'll see you guys soon.